Welcome, everyone. It's lovely to have you. Let's begin by centering. Sit nice and tall. Let your eyes fall gently closed. And bring the awareness into your body. And just notice how your legs and your pelvis are connecting to the earth. And then from the connection into the earth, allow the spine to rise. And feel as though you're lifting even through the sides of the body and the sides of the neck, all the way up to the crown of the head. And now bring awareness to your breath. And allow your breath to become long and deep. Today's practice is about keeping our heart center open and shining our light into the world. It can become difficult to keep shining forward and staying positive as the things around us seem to become negative. So just the way that we hold our bodies and the way that we allow ourselves to be open, especially for those who need us, our families, our friends. Our yoga practice can help with that. So allow your awareness to drop down into your heart center. The space of Anahata chakra or heart wheel is located right behind the center of the sternum. And back into the spine. So notice this space. And if you like, you can even visualize a single candle flame. Just remembering that light which we carry with us. It's meant to shine into the world. That's meant to be a source of not only light, but also love. And sometimes visualization is difficult, so maybe you can just sense this space. Just notice how it feels to have your awareness rest here. And take a few more moments. And now let's bring the hands together at the heart space in Anjali Mudra with the thumbs resting on the center of the sternum. And if you like, you may internally state a dedication or an intention for your practice. And then if you like, you may join with me in an Om. Take a deep breath in. Om. Let us greet one another. Namaste. All right. So we're going to start today in Dandasana. So go ahead and sit with your legs stretched out in front of you. And I'm just going to turn to the side so it's easier for you to see. You don't have to be at the side. Hands are going to be beside the hips. I like thumbs forward, fingertips back, because I feel like that gives me a better pressure down into the hands so that the spine can lift up. And then flex the feet rather firmly and press the backs of the legs towards the floor. And then feeling the work of the legs as they press down. Try to draw the belly, the low belly in, giving you a sense of firmness around the pelvis. And then use an inhalation. Start to reach the arms forward and up. And then as you exhale, just circle the arms back behind you. And inhale, reach up. Exhale, circle the arms back. Last one, inhale, reach up. And exhale, circle the arms back. Now bringing your hands together at a clasp at the heart. Sweep the hands down in front of the shins and towards the toes. And then as you take the hands up, you're going to lean back, feeling the core muscles engage, the belly muscles, and then do it again. So you can go as quickly or as slowly with this as you like. And again, the guidance for the lean back is really just enough to feel your belly pull back. Now, sometimes if you go too far back, you'll feel your lower back. And if that's uncomfortable or painful for you, then do less of a lean. See if when you lean back, and as you start to bring your hands towards your chest, lift your chest up into your hands. Almost keep that back bending sensation as you lift. Let's do one more. And now switch directions. So reach the arms up, reach forward, round the spine, and then sweep the hands down past the legs, go up again. So you're still leaning back to feel some of the belly engage, but now you're reaching and curving the spine. Almost starts to feel like this fluid motion, like your water through your spine. Let's let this be the last one. And then return to staff pose, Dandasana, hands beside the hips, push down into the hands, lengthen up through the spine, anchor down into the backs of the legs, have a light firming of the low belly. Now we're going to take some dynamic twists, leaving the legs out straight. You're going to turn to one side, lean back onto the hand behind you, and then come through center and go the other way. And just keep moving side to side. Use an exhale as you lean, and an inhale as you come through center. And you can make this yours. If you want to let it be a bigger movement, you might even start to allow that back hip to lift up, lay yourself out more flat. Or you can keep it just right where it was, just leaning onto the hand. Feel how the low ribs get a little scrubbing sensation as they move side to side. And then come right back into center. Dandasana once more. Push into the hands, lift up through center. Take some deep breaths. Walk the hands so they're just behind you. They can be wider than your shoulders, maybe even as wide as your mat, but don't have them way, way back. Just right on the other side of your pelvis so you can get the palms down. And then push down into the hands. Start to lift up through the center of the sternum. Draw the upper arm bones back and you'll get a nice stretch across the chest and also the front of the shoulder. If this feels like plenty for your shoulders, stay right here. Or soften the chest, walk the hands about one handprint back, And then take that same action. Push into the hands, lift the chest. Anytime you need to stop and be done, come back to Dandasana. Last chance, if you need more, soften the chest. Walk the hands one handprint back. Try to stay on your mat, at least with some of your hand, and be very mindful as you lift the heart. Notice the reaction into the shoulders. Make sure it's a pleasant one for you. And then slowly release. Walk the hands in. Now let's come into a wide leg stance. So from your wide leg stance, you're going to turn towards a leg and then lean over it any amount. Use your hands to help prop you up so there doesn't feel like there's too much strain on your back. Notice when the sensations start to lighten or lessen, and that might be an indication you can go further. Come back up to center, and let's turn to the other leg. Lean over it a little bit. You definitely want to go just to where you first start feeling sensation, and then you stay there and breathe. And then you notice if the sensation becomes less, and then you can go a little further. Just taking your time, noticing what your body needs today. And inhaling, come on back up. Good. So sitting nice and tall, we're going to go for a nice side opening next. The way we'll come into this is we'll turn to face a leg, and then we'll lean over until we can prop our elbow onto the thigh. So staying here is one option. You could also, if you find that your elbow and your thigh is really uncomfortable, you could use a block to catch your elbow. Another option, which will be slightly more intense, is to take your hand, palm of your hand down onto your shin, and then slide the hand out towards the ankle until the elbow is straight. And then the final piece, if you're interested, is to very, very slowly stretch your top arm up and over the head. Notice if there's a point where it feels like too much weight on your back, go back to that place where it feels good instead. And slowly lift back up and relax. Come back to center, pause. Let's do the other side. So turn to face the other leg and then lean over, elbow onto the thigh, chest is open. And stay here. You probably feel some stretch on the side waist, maybe into the lumbar. You could use a block, or if you want to reach the hand towards the shin, straighten the arm, slide the hand out towards the ankle. Try there. See how that is. And then if the sensation allows you to open the arm up towards the sky and then sweep it overhead, go slowly. So notice how it feels. If it's too much, take the hand back down. And then inhale, come on back up to center and unwind. Good. Sit nice and tall. So you can leave your legs like this if this is a comfortable seat for you. You can come back to cross-legged if that's better. We're going to work on the shoulders just a little bit now. So we're going to start with just some simple shoulder rolls. So lifting the shoulders up towards the ears and then circling them back and down. Do that several times. And then go the other way. And then come into stillness. And then with your hands resting on your legs, inhale to take the shoulders up to the ears, and then exhale through the mouth as you drop the shoulders down. So inhale through the nose, shoulders up. Exhale through the mouth, shoulders drop down. And see if you can really drop them. And then twice as fast, double time. Good, inhale up and exhale, drop. Great. Now relax the chin towards the chest. Let's try and soften the shoulders. Let them hang down like the upper arm bones act like weights, just pulling down on the shoulders and feeling the stretch in the neck. We'll take a semicircle, a half circle, bringing the head so that the ear faces one shoulder. And then come back chin to chest and then over to the other side. And do that a few times, just taking your time, trying to feel the stretch all along the neck and the tops of the shoulders. You take your half circle. And then the next time the chin is to the chest, just leave it there. And now bring clasped hands behind the head, widen the elbows, and then slowly lift the head up, first to neutral. See how your shoulders like this. Is this a position that's going to feel okay as the elbows broaden and the chest lifts? And then start to drop the head back into the hands and look up any amount. Keep pushing into the sit bones to lengthen up with the spine. So you're getting this big back bending arch in the upper part of your back. Take one more breath here. And then soften. Now leaving your hands clasped, press the palms up to the sky. So with clasped hands, palms facing up, you're going to start to circle the hands, just taking the hands in a nice big circle. Now you can come even forward, like shoulder height. Kind of depends on how your shoulders are feeling. So you could do shoulder height, or you could try and start taking the hands more up towards the sky in front of the head. Final position is that circling goes behind the head. So pay attention to where your shoulders are happiest getting this motion. And then go the other way. Good. And then the next time the hands are up, stretch up, lengthen. And then exhale as you lean forward. And then unclasp the hands, bring the hands to the floor. And just soften into a gentle curve of the spine. You can walk your hands as far forward as you prefer. Take another breath here. And slowly back up the hands. Put the other leg in front. Once again, inhale, reach. Exhale, lean and curve. Slowly lift back up. And let's come around to downward facing dog. So coming first into table pose, to take the fingertips wide and fingers straight forward. Toes tuck under, hover the knees, and then start to lift the hips up. Leave the knees a little bit bent to start. This will allow you to press more firmly down into the hands and lengthen through the spine. And then the sit bones lift any amount more up towards the sky. And see if you can keep this length in your back and the strength in your arms as you gradually descend the heels and maybe straighten the knees more. Heels do not have to go to the floor and knees do not have to straighten. Try to have your legs in the place that helps you keep the spine long instead. Inhaling, come forward to your plank, just letting your hips come in line with your shoulders. Now you have two options here. You can either do plank to down dog several times with your breath, or you can go knees down, knee plank towards a child's pose, so lengthened child's pose. So up to you. What are your shoulders, back, knees wanting to do today? Try and move with your breath. Keep your hands firmly planted, even push down into your fingertips. The pressure into the fingertips actually helps to keep the wrist muscles engaged. It's going to help you stay stronger through your wrists. Last one. And then as you come forward, come down to your knees. And as we make our way back to child's pose, you're going to make two fists, one fist with each hand, and place your fist on either side of your navel. So when you lean up and over your fist, you get pressure into your navel. Sometimes when you do this action, it's very hard to get your head to the floor. So use your block. Put your block under your head so you can be more comfortable. Now, that being said, if this pressure against your belly with your hands is not allowing you to breathe, if you're just really uncomfortable, then get rid of it. It's okay to get rid of it. Just try and have your child's pose with knees together instead of well apart. What we're trying to do here is, with the added pressure on the belly, you're actually getting a little massage from your breath. So the hands are preventing the belly to move down. And in fact, it's causing more of an expansion into the low ribs and the back ribs. And when this happens, you're massaging organs. That's one of the things that can happen. The other thing that happens is you may notice you're starting to gain space and length in your lumbar spine. So see if you can notice any sort of widening or lengthening in the lower back just from breathing in this position. One more breath here. And then slowly start to make your way up. Free your hands. With your hands just near your knees, take one knee at a time out as wide as your mat, and then come back into your child's pose. Now you may or may not need your block under your head. You could use your hands instead. But for this child's pose, now we don't have anything restricting our belly or restricting our breath. So allow your belly to just soften and hang with gravity. You just let the belly relax. And just notice where the breath moves to. And then let's slowly start to come up. And then make your way into Uttanasana. So from table pose, you could tuck your toes under, walk the hands back near the knees, and then push into the hands to bring the knees up, and then descend the heels. Knees can stay softly bent. You can walk your hands back near the feet. Maybe the head will drop and dangle. Maybe you'd be better having your hands more on your shins, even up near the knees. So give your back as much support as you need for this Uttanasana. Take one more breath here. And then slowly start to lift up, coming all the way up to standing. Keep looking down, especially if you have a tendency towards dizziness. You just look down a little bit longer. That'll slow the blood flow to the brain. And eventually you'll be ready to lift the gaze. Good. So with the toes straight forward, draw the upper arm bones back. Palms are forward. So you're going to draw your upper arm bones so far back that you feel your shoulder blades squeeze towards one another. And you'll feel how the stretch is happening right across the chest as the shoulder blades squeeze together. Now, start to soften that effort and let the upper arm bones come forward. Shoulder blades start to move apart and the chest sinks in. And then do that again. Upper arm bones move back, hands move back into the back plane of the body, shoulder blades start to squeeze, chest reaches forward, and then start to collapse the chest. Hands start to come forward, arms start to come forward, shoulders curve. Good. Now, come back to that first position where the shoulders are squeezing, the upper arm bones are back. So you feel how the chest is nice and lifted. Now see if you can soften the work between the shoulder blades. Allow the shoulder blades to come away from each other so there's no more pinching sensation of the shoulder blades. There's a whole lot less work, but you're suddenly aware of the muscles all the way around the shoulder blade. So the shoulder blade, the scapula is a triangular shaped bone right at the back body, right in the upper ribs, right? It's the primary stabilizer for your shoulder, that bone. And it has so many muscles attached. Can you get to that place where you feel the hugging action, like there were a pair of hands on your scapula and helping you to push the scapula up into the upper rib cage more? And you're looking for that place where you have an awareness of the work, but it doesn't feel like you're going to be fatigued by standing here. Okay, so if you've got a lot of effort into it, then it starts to feel like the muscles are going to freak out. You might even feel like you're going to get a spasm between the shoulder blades. So it's okay to soften some of that. But can you find that place where they just feel supportive? And they're supportive of the lift in the sternum. So you notice that connection. You noticed it pretty profoundly when we were doing our back and forth, right? So can you feel it without so much movement? Good. Now let's keep the chest lifted, keep the center of the sternum shining forward as we move into sun breath. Sun breath is just inhaling, taking the arms out and up. Exhaling, sweeping the arms out and down. Inhale, out and up. Exhale, out and down. Keep going. Now, as you take the arms out and up, the shoulder blades actually wing out to the sides. So it's hard to keep them really well engaged. The higher the hands, the arms go over the head. But notice that moment, if you can, when you're able to re-engage and pull the shoulder blades into the upper ribs. So that's just going to help you with your heart lift. Good. Let's go ahead and go into full or half sun salutations. Arms lift up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift part way. Exhale, down. Inhale, reach out and up. Exhale, thumbs through midline. Begin again. Inhale to lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, partway lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, thumbs through midline. One more time. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, partway lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, reach up. Exhale through center. Let the arms drop by the sides. Turn the palms forward just because that's easier in getting the positioning of the scapula and the upper arm bones. So try to sense the muscles around the shoulder blades, helping you to keep the chest lifted. And then keeping the center of the sternum straight forward and the chest with that nice broad sensation. Can you take your arms just straight forward about shoulder height and still keep the chest lifting? So now the scapula have come forward a little bit, but you can still keep the chest lifted. And then drop the hands down again. Let's do that a few times. Inhale, arms just straight forward. Exhale, arms come down. Do that a few more times. Just noticing how you can keep your chest lifted as you bring the arms up. So the next time the arms are shoulder height, leave them there. Keep your chest lifted. Soften the knees, sink the hips back any amount that allows you to keep your heart shining forward. You may even feel like you can draw your upper arm bones back into the shoulder girdle. That assists in keeping the heart up. We're going to do our twisting chair. And we're going to hold the twist. So go ahead and twist one way, reaching back with one hand. Try to broaden across the chest. Center of the sternum is more upright, which might mean you can't bend down quite as much. Reach through the fingers and then unwind yourself. Go to the other side. So with the chest open, reach through the fingers, have that nice lift in the sternum, and then unwind. Return to standing, take a few breaths. Good work. Anytime we come to Tadasana, try to come to the one that allows your heart to lift. Just a little bit of a drawing back of the upper arm bone to feel the shoulder blades. Lift the heart. Take one more breath here. And then we're going to bring hands to the waist and step out a wide stance. Turning the right foot out 90 degrees, draw the left heel out. From our side stance, we're going to do a few of our standing poses. So first, take your palms and turn them forward. Try and get that chest lift that we had when our feet were together. And then float the arms up just so they're shoulder height. And once you have that, flip the palms down without losing the lift of the chest. And then turning over, gaze to the right hand, exhale, bend the front knee, warrior two, Virabhadrasana two. So can you notice the reach from the center of the sternum that carries all the way out to the fingertips? And can you also engage the arm bones? I'm sorry, the arm muscles. So they're hugging into the bones. So there's a big sensation all in the upper body. Moving into dancing warrior, bring the left hand to the back thigh, turn the right palm up to the ceiling, and then start to sweep the arm up to the sky as you lean over the back leg. Gaze could be up or could be to the side. Good. Take one more breath here. Come back to your center, straighten the front leg. Re-engage the lift of the chest. Keep the heart open as you tip over into triangle. Right hand comes to the shin, left arm reaches up. You could place the left hand on the hip. That's a good option if your shoulder is getting tired. Staying firm through the legs. Take the top arm and allow it to drift into the back plane of the body, increasing the sensation of stretch in the front of the shoulder and the chest on that side. It might also cause you to want to twist a little bit more. Only go to where you can still breathe and be relatively comfortable. Good. Now bring the hand back into place so it's right over the shoulder. Push into the feet. Lift back to stand. We're right into our extended angle. Bend the front knee, elbow to thigh, other arm reaches over the head, stays in triangle arm, hand above the shoulder, or hand could be on the hip. Can you have the sense that the center of the sternum is curving up a little towards your chin? Push into the feet, lift back to stand. Good, relax the arms, spin the feet, and then step together. Take a break in your mindful, heart lifted Tadasana. Just let your breath smooth out. Good. Let's go to the other side. Hands around the waist. Step out your wide stance. Turn the left toes out 90 degrees, right heel out slightly. With your legs straight, let your arms come by your sides, turning the palms forward. Feel like you have that nice chest opening, heart lifting sensation. And then slowly take the arms up, shoulder height, keeping that awareness in the heart space. And then flip the palms down. Turn the gaze to the left hand, and then bend the front knee on an exhalation to come to warrior two. Firm the triceps. Firm the muscles into the bones for the arms. Don't firm so much it feels like it's compromising your breath. It's better to keep the breath moving and have a little more softness. Coming to dancing warrior, right hand to the right thigh, left palm turns up first, and then start reaching that arm towards the sky, and then side bend. Take a few breaths here in your dancing warrior. And then come back to center, straighten the front leg, come into triangle pose, reaching out to the left hand comes to the shin. Right arm is either on the hip or straight up. Keeping a broadness across the chest. Start to drop the top arm any amount behind you. You can do it even with the hands on the hip. Just let that arm come back until you increase the sensation of stretch in a good way. If it's not good for you, take the arm back. Good. And then hand right over the shoulder, push into the feet, lifting up to stand. We'll come to extended angle, bend the front knee, reach out, elbow down. Top hand either on the hip, straight up, or overhead. Is there any way to keep a sense of opening or lift in the sternum in this pose? And sometimes all you can do is just bring awareness to that space. And that's good too. Push into the feet, lift back to stand. Hands to the waist, swivel the feet, and then step together. Arms by the sides with the palms forward. So you can draw the upper arm bone slightly back. Engaging lightly with the shoulder blades into the upper spine, upper back. The chest lifts. Let's bring hands to the waist. Step out wide stance, getting ready for front stance next. So turn the right foot out 90 degrees. Pick up the left foot, angle the toes forward, and place it near the left side of your mat. Then hips and ribs face the short edge of your mat. First, we'll come into warrior one legs. Legs only. Hands stay on the waist. Bend the front knee. Get really steady. If you feel wobbly at all, heel toe the right foot to the right some. You want to be steady here, because the next action is to spin the back heel up. As soon as you spin the back heel up, the back knee will bend. Let it. Now angle the tailbone straight down. Almost, you don't want to completely tuck your pelvis, but you do want to shift more into neutral, which will increase sensation on the front of the hip and thigh. Stay right here, or start to bend the knee more towards the floor. Now there's a point where you're going to want to just stop. The goal is to feel the stretch in the thigh and the hip, not necessarily to get your knee to the floor. In fact, probably not, unless you have a really wide stance. Take one more breath. And then press back up, straighten both legs, spin the back heel down. Stay in your front stance, and then exhale as you hinge forward, Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. You can tuck your hands behind you. It'll give some relief to the shoulders. Just let the hands grab hold of the wrists or the forearms, and let your breath smooth out. Lift back to stand. Release the hands back to the waist, and then bend the front knee into warrior one again. So this time with warrior one legs, you'll clasp the hands together and place them behind the head. Just like we did before seated, you're going to keep the elbows widening, and then you'll slowly start to drop the head back into the hands any amount as the chest reaches up. Keep the legs really strong and feel like you're lifting the rib cage up and away from the pelvis before dropping back. Good. And then soften, straighten the front leg. Once again, hands to the waist, lean forward, Parsvottanasana to rest. Now, if Parsvottanasana doesn't feel very restful to you, then it would be okay to rest in Tadasana. You could just come to standing. Sometimes for the second one, you may notice you can go a little further down, and some of you might want to put hands on blocks or onto the floor. Again, this is only an option. It's not an option for all bodies. So only if it feels right should you be going here. You want to find a place where you can feel like you're resting and catching your breath, letting the breath smooth out. Also feeling like you're letting the shoulders soften and relax. This is the opposite positioning for the shoulder blades than what we've been doing. Shoulder blades go wide across the back, upper arm bones soften forward, and the chest comes in a little bit. Push into the feet. Lift back up to stand. Swivel the feet, step together. Tadasana. So we have to repeat that on the second side. So hands are on the waist. Step a wide stance. Turn the left foot out 90 degrees. Step the right toes forward and towards the right side of your mat as you angle your hips and ribs towards the short edge. If you feel wobbly at all, heel toe the left foot to the left. And then when you're ready, leaving hands on the waist, bend the front knee to come into warrior one legs. And you can tell if this is going to be a good positioning for you. Do you feel steady enough to spin the back heel up? And then angle the tailbone down, front hip points straight forward. And then only if you need to, in order to feel more stretch on the thigh or the front of the hip, you start to dip the knee down. Good. Press back up, straighten the legs, spin back, heel down, and then start to lean forward for your Parsvottanasana pyramid for resting. And once you're forward, you can tuck your hands back, grab the forearms and the wrists and the elbows. If you need to rest in Tadasana, absolutely do that instead. Pressing into the feet, lift back up to stand. Hands can come to the waist as we come to warrior one legs again. So bend the front knee. Keep the back leg nice and straight. Back heel is pressing down. And then clasp the hands together behind the head. Once you have the head supported, broaden across the chest out to the inner elbows. Pushing down into the floor to lengthen up with the rib cage and then drop the head back into the hands any amount as the heart lifts. Stay here and breathe. Push into the feet, straighten the legs, release the hands, and then hinge forward. One more time, pyramid pose. This time, maybe with the hands on the floor. You could also come into a child's pose if you need to rest more. In yoga practice, these straight leg poses are supposed to be more restful, but I believe that depends on your hamstrings. So, if it's not allowing you to rest, then you have to choose another position to rest in, whether it's child's pose or Tadasana or even triangle. Just something that's not going to be so physically demanding as that warrior one. And as the breath smooths out, eventually you will press strongly into your feet, return the hands to the waist, lift up to stand, and then pivot the feet to step together and Tadasana. Good work. So feel the light engagement of the shoulder blades, helping to press forward into the upper ribs. Good. So now we're going to go into our baby standing camel pose. So a little Ustrasana is next. I'm going to turn to the side so you can more easily see. Have your feet with some space between them. Your hands are going to come to the back of the pelvis. I like fingertips down so I can use the heels of my hands pushing in to my pelvis to remind me to lengthen up with my ribs first. So the elbows are pointing mostly straight back. It doesn't have to be exactly straight behind you. And even with this positioning, you already feel how the chest is getting a nice lift. And then push into your feet, firm the thighs. Take an inhalation, lengthen up, ribs away from the waist, and then let the hips move forward as the heart moves up, any amount. So as soon as you start feeling sensation in your back, then that's probably far enough. You also want to go to a place where you can still breathe. So if your breath is compromised, take out some of that bend. Take one more breath here. Good, and then soften. Relax. Release the arms. Good. move into Garudasana, which will be a counter pose for our back bending. This is eagle pose. Now, eagle pose can be done as a one-legged balance, or it can be done with the arms only. So your feet will stay in Tadasana. I leave it up to you on what you would like to do today. So if you want to try that one-legged balance, we'll get into it second. We're going to start with the arms. Arms will come up, so they're about shoulder height. And then the right arm comes under the left for either a hook, where you're stacking up the elbows, or a hug, where you're holding on to your shoulders. Final piece is bind. So the forearms come up and the palms press into one another. So you let the shoulder blades really separate and come forward. Now, if you want to stay right here, I recommend it. It's a good way to do this pose. But if you want to try your one-legged balance, you're going to put the weight over into your left foot, and your right leg is going to come up and cross over. Ladies, cross high up on the thigh, or your Garudasana legs. Now you could slip the toes down to the floor. That's like your kickstand version if you want to do that. Try and have the elbows away from the chest just a little bit. Take one more breath. And then free yourself. Take flight. Eagle pose. This feels more like eagle, but I think this is baby eagle. And then we fly. Right? Okay. Pause and breathe. Just feel the difference between your shoulders. And we'll try the other side. Arms come up, about shoulder height. This time left arm under the right. Hook, stay in hook. Move to hug, where the hands come towards the shoulders, or bind. Once you have your arm position, you allow the shoulder blades to come away from each other. So softening in the upper back. And then soften the knees a little. Put the weight over into the right foot. Left leg crosses up and over. So you cross high on the thighs. Squeeze the thighs together. You can put your toes on the ground, or you can try tucking them behind your calf muscle. Either way, squeeze the thighs. Try to lift the elbows lightly away from the chest. And when you're done, take flight briefly and come on down. Good. Nice. Take some breaths. Okay. So now we're going to make our way into an inversion. I know some of you do headstand, so if you'd like to make your way into headstand, you could do that here. If you're working towards headstand, or if you just want to do more shoulder strengthening work, you can do your headstand prep. And then the final option, if you don't know about either of those, then you're going to do the final option, and that's our wide leg forward fold. So you're going to take the feet out wide, toes straight forward, outer edges of the feet as wide as the outer edges of your mat, and then you lean forward, plant the hands under the shoulders, keep the bulk of your weight in your feet, and then drop all the way down. So whichever pose you choose, just stay for a few breaths. Now, those of you working on your shoulders, you're doing your headstand prep, you're going to have to come out probably sooner. And you are welcome to rest in child's pose and go back for another few breaths in your headstand prep. Or you could also spin around and do wide leg forward fold. And just remember, this wide leg forward fold is still a forward fold. So if you have osteoporosis or osteopenia, do try to keep your upper back a little more lengthened. So you might have to put a block or something under your hands. Yeah, good. It's okay to have some rounding. It's just with those conditions, if you do a lot of rounding over time, it's that it can cause little tiny fractures on the front of the spine. So we just minimize how much we allow ourselves to collapse forward. Okay, good. So if you're still in a pose, make your way into child's pose. And if you've been in child's pose for a little while and you're ready to come out of it, we're going to eventually make our way into crocodile. So that's lying on the belly. So spend a few more breaths in child's pose if you're still there. And then you'll make your way all the way onto your belly. And after a few breaths in crocodile, we'll come up to Sphinx by spinning the elbows right underneath of the shoulders, and the forearms are parallel with one another, fingertips straight forward towards the short edge of your mat. And then widen your feet so they're about as wide as your mat. And then once you do that, wiggle your hips so that they settle back down so that the front line of the leg is against the earth. And your pelvis feels like it's centered. And then from Sphinx pose, use an exhale to look over one shoulder towards the heel on that side. Inhale back through center, exhale the other way. Keep going for a few more breaths. Inhale to center, exhale to look. The next time you come into center, stay in center. Press down into the tops of the feet so the knees start to lift away from the floor. And then plant down through the front of the pelvis and through the elbows. So you come into active Sphinx pose. So you feel your back body activate and the front body is getting more lengthened. Stay right here, especially if that feels like plenty in your lower back. Or take your hands out so they're about as wide as your mat, but still on your mat. Make sure your mat is still sticking under your hands. And then see if you can push into the hands and hover the elbows. See how that feels. Keep your legs working. Keep your pelvis grounded. Start to explore more of a straightening of the elbows if your back doesn't mind. This is seal pose. And then slowly lower the elbows back down. Relax all the way down to crocodile. Bend the knees, windshield wiper the feet to release the back. Now you could stay with the Sphinx pose, the active Sphinx pose that we just did. You could just repeat that. I definitely recommend that if you have any kinds of past injuries or things that you watch in your back. You might want to stay with that smaller version. The Sphinx pose is going to be just a little less work for you. You can also just stay in crocodile. That's a good option also. So if you're not sure of how your back is going to respond to this work, stay just like this on your belly, because you may feel this is even a little bit of a back bend just being here. If you're up for more, then we're going to do bow pose next. So Dhanurasana. And for bow pose, you want to bend the knees, taking the feet up, and then sweep the hands back to grab hold of the toes, feet, or ankles. And then once you have that, get a little lift with the knees as the chest shines forward. And you can stay as long as you're comfortable staying, or you can lower down and come back up again. Make sure you can breathe wherever you are. And then slowly release. So come all the way down, whichever pose you are in. Return to your crocodile for a few breaths. And then with your hands under your shoulders, do a push-up to come to table. And we're going to make our way into short, wide down dog. So take your knees about as wide as your mat, turn your toes under, back up the hands until you can hover the knees and take the hips up. Hands are as wide as the mat, but on the mat. Feet are as wide as the mat, but also on the mat. So you want to feel like you're well supported with your hands and your feet rooting down. And there should be a sense that you're lengthening through your back. So you can make this yours. You can play with the distancing. Maybe you want to make it more Uttanasana-like, where you back up your weight so it's almost all in your feet. Some people will find that that helps the back feel longer. Others will need to be a little more forward. So find the place that feels like it's giving you the most space in your lower spine, where we just did all of our work. And then let's slowly come on down, settle the knees down, and then help yourself to sitting. Once seated, come to Sukhasana, easy pose with the right leg in front. Hands can be on the knees, sit nice and tall. Using your next exhalation, twist to the right. Right hand comes behind, left hand to the knee. Come back through center. Put the other leg in front. Sit tall. And then exhale as you twist left. Left hand behind. Right hand on the knee. Someone came to my door. He'll stop in a minute. Turn the gaze all the way over the left shoulder. And then unwind. All right. So let's make our way down onto the floor for Shavasana. You could spend a minute or so with another pose if you are interested. If you did headstand, you'll probably want to do at least about a minute of shoulder stand or so. You could also do Viparita Karani. I'll just remind you of that one because that's a nice way to finish if you're not already ready for Shavasana. Lying on your back, knees bent, feet flat. Draw a block under the back of the pelvis. Roll the shoulders under, lift the heart, and then lift the knees and feet. This is an alternative to a shoulder stand. It's another inversion. It can prepare the mind for relaxation. It's a nice one to do unless you're already ready to relax. We're doing an asymmetrical pose. You should be on the second side. And finish up. As you make your way into your final relaxation, just feel that you placed your body evenly against the earth, your arms and legs equally away from midline. Notice if there are any adjustments that need to be made to your props, to your clothes, to your body. And then after you have determined that the body is set, then you set the intention to remain still for the rest of your practice of Shavasana. You feel your back body as it releases into the earth. You allow a sense of softness to come over you. And as you continue to let go and release, the mind may start to wander. And this is okay. As long as the mind is truly wandering and not thinking. It's a very subtle difference. A wandering mind just moves very easily from one thought to another. There's no effort. You just kind of have a thought, you let it go. Another one comes, you let it go. Your thinking is when you hold on to your thought. You ruminate. You consider. There's a lot of effort in thinking. Another way to describe wandering versus thinking, you can imagine your thoughts being like a car. Cars passing you by on the street. And you're sitting on the side of the street. And you just see the cars pass by. And as long as the cars, which are your thoughts, come and go, then that's just that easy wandering mind. But if you see a car coming and you flag it down and you say, hey, let's talk, that's the thinking mind. That's holding on to a thought. It's not as easy. It's hard to flag it down. Try to just let the mind relax and effortlessly release thoughts. Slowly bring the awareness back into your physical body. Feeling your body lying against the earth. Allow your breath to become deeper. And when you're ready, start to wiggle the fingers and toes, circle wrists and ankles. And gradually bend your knees to place the feet flat. And then roll gently to one side to breathe into the back before slowly making your way up to a comfortable seat. Sitting tall, bring hands together at the heart. Restate your intention or dedication. Seal in our practice with Om. Om Shanti. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed. May you be the source of healing for all beings. Namaste. Thank you all. Thanks for being here.